Okay, so GTII may be forming that thing again in volatility versus momentum. Let's go ahead and find out what could happen for the following sessions. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Once again, this is ARCa coming at you with the GTII technicals and raw price action thread of analysis on this happy Friday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. Okay, so, guys, one more thing, actually. I want to just warn everybody that I have only about 4 or 5 seats left open on the ARC Masters trading course that I only started promoting about 4 days ago. Okay, so from the 30 seats, only about 4 or 5 are left. So go ahead and reserve your seat by clicking in the link in the description below for Discord. It says ARC Masters course on that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and cover everything from the beginning of trading, everything fundamental, all the way to mathematical applications and advanced topics. Okay, so let's go ahead and now dive into GTII on the daily. Okay, so we are looking at the touch of where we were looking for yesterday, right? So we were looking at that support bottom being potentially found at the bottom side of this ascending channel. It looks like we did find that, but there still could be a little more of downside. But let's go ahead and see what everything is happening. I'm sorry, what's happening with everything regarding volatility and momentum, as I do believe we're setting up another thing or the continuation of that massive upside. Okay, let's go ahead and touch bases on that now. All right, so yeah, there we go. It's the 3-day chart here, and what we're looking at here is volatility represented by this indicator BBWP, and this bottom indicator is stochastic momentum, which is paired with volatility because volatility is direction neutral. Okay, so stochastic momentum is essentially what gives us that bias for direction. Okay, so I want to just point out that we are starting to make that curvature on both the D% and the K% of stochastic momentum. Okay, so as you know, as soon as this thing pivots towards the upside, price action also suggests and continues on that ascent. Okay, so what's curious about this is that it's just making kind of the natural ebb and flow of the market structure, right? So we're making that higher high, right? And we're making the higher lows, and it looks like it's finding that support very soon, thus creating another iteration of linear regression on an ascent. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, and I honestly think that this could actually be preparing it for the coming days. This is the 3-day, right? So we still have 3 days and 14 hours to close this iteration here. Of course, this would actually have to be looked at after the close of this, so potential 1 week or maybe even 2 weeks before we can see an upside continuation here. We are still making that ascent. Remember, we're still making this trend here, okay? So we still have to trade it. Now, do remember that also the bearish side of this ascending channel is usually faced when we test the third resistance, right? So meaning that following the golden rule of 3, we would actually test that third time on the top, followed by a capitulation, right? And then we would actually have to see if we would realize the true nature of an ascending channel, which would be in a short perspective, you can actually say the succeeding of this support line for the downside, right, before a continuation on. So let's go ahead and now continue on the analysis. Okay, so just like we mentioned yesterday, we were looking at the relevance of the SMA 50 and the 2-spot 272 and the ascending channel. Okay, so all of those things were rhyming for us to see the potential of a $1.31 zone before a bounce to the upside, right? So all of that stuff, check out that 50. Just like we said, we would likely find that bounce from it alongside the 2-spot 272. So instead, actually, the candle went down to about 133 instead of that 131 that we were looking for, right? So, I mean, the honest thing here is that when I start to get a little surgical with the targets, since it didn't touch that 131, then it could still imply that it would want to touch it and validate. So now that I get a little more surgical and show you the actual ascending channel that we've been looking at, the one that actually iterated the time fractals. So right down here, you can see that we came just shy of the support from the channel. Okay, so this is kind of telling me that we may actually want to come back and touch it. Okay, which by then would actually succeed in creating more of a volatility run. Okay, so there is also something that I'm noticing here. It looks like we're in this is actually a symmetrical triangle, okay? So the symmetrical triangle also has a price objective, and we can actually figure that or validate it by taking a trend line from the top area of the triangle all the way to the lowest point of the triangle, and we apply it to that supposed area of breakout, which is usually located within about 60 to 65%, maybe even 70% to the apex of the triangle. Okay, so that's usually where we can find that breakout point. So that's why I'm kind of naming it the supposed breakout area. Okay, so there are very interesting targets to look at when we're talking about this price objective. Okay, first of all, the price objective itself is suggesting about a $3.22 range, which is the price objective of the triangle, right? So now if we take if we take a fib from the current day's high to the swing low of the day, we can actually see that the top side target, let me just get rid of these the fractals, right? So we can actually see that the top side target is suggesting 4.618 at $3.07, which is very close to that $3.22 range of the triangle, right? So now that gives us a range of resistance that we can actually put right over here. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this, because this is where things start to get a little juicy, if I have to be so clear myself. Okay, so let's go ahead and take that resistance like that, and now take that resistance range all the way back over here. And please go ahead and notice that 4.618 is taking us right to this tiny gap that we actually formed back in September 2022. Very curious, because the 4.618 would essentially be that take profit zone before a short-term pullback and then a continuation on to the upside. Okay, another curious thing is that the 4.618 is directly in line with this candle here from November 2022. Also with this line here from November 21st. My goodness, the top side of our price objective on the triangle is confluent with many candles as well. And yeah, guys, I mean, there's absolutely a lot of rhyming in this, and I really do think that GTII is preparing for that next leg up. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Remember, we're not done here, okay? We're going to continue on the analysis. Just remember that I'm not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy or sell any assets whatsoever. I need you to do your own due diligence, and everything will be just fine. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and now move on to the last part of analysis, which is actually going to be the RSI. Okay, so just like always, let's start off with that 30-minute immediate short-term time frame. And you can see right down here that the bears are starting to lose a little bit of control, right? So we do have to admit that we are within the bearish control zone, and particularly the bear strength percentile. Okay, so we are smack in the middle of it with a little bit of a downside posturing, but that still suggests that we're losing that strength, and it's a little bearish even still. Remember, it's likely to live out pretty fast. Sorry, you can't speak right now, because it is the 30-minute immediate short-term time frame. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at that 4-hour time frame and see what it's got for us. Okay, so immediately I can tell that the RSI signal, represented by that purple line, remember your pink line is the 14-day simple moving average. Okay, so we're well within the gravitational area of the bear strength percentile, okay, which usually means that we can actually face this as support or use it as support before a bounce to the upside, okay, but we still have that 14-day simple above us, which means that we can have two areas of resistance, not only that gravitational zone, but also the 14-period simple moving average. Okay, so now the 8-hour time frame is also suggesting a downside continuation. This one, however, is located in the gravitational zone of the bear weakness percentile, which would essentially suggest for us to continue on to the downside. Now, if I'm being perfectly clear here, this may be the start of a consolidation period. Okay, so, and the reason why I'm saying the start of a consolidation period is because of this iteration right back here on the 8-hour. Okay, so you can see here that on February 23rd, we actually faced support from that gravitational zone, which would essentially push us back up, and then we face resistance from that 14-day simple, and it looks like we may be facing that exact situation one more time, which would be in line with testing the $1.31 level of the ascending channel, right? So correlation is something that a great trader finds. Okay, so remember, correlate as much as you can, try to find the rhyme. Okay, so let's go ahead and now look at the daily time frame and just really take a gander at this, because there is absolute loss in bear strength right in here. So this is indicating that we may be facing a very critical support soon, which again, by the way, is landing in line with that $1.31. I'm not saying that that's the end all be all target, but what I am saying is that we can find a bounce from that area if it so happens to be that the bulls favor that. Okay, please remember that there's a lot of negative activity happening with the deal falling out between CRTD and GTII. Okay, so as long as that is present, then there is going to be some risk to the downside, and I still have to favor the bears in this essence. Okay, in this sense. Sorry. So, but nonetheless, the bears are still losing strength, and I'm still seeing the upside. And statistically speaking, this would actually now make me favor mathematically the bulls. So in discretion, I'm favoring the bears, but mathematically, which outweighs all of those, I favor the bulls. All right, you guys. So please go ahead and notice right down here that the 3-day RSI is right now finding that support that we've been talking about from that 14-day simple. And it's also very close to that gravitational zone, which would essentially pull us and push us right back in to the following bullish zone, okay, which would be the bull weakness percentile. Also, take a quick gander here at that 5-day, as we can see, approaching to that support of the 14-day simple moving average. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, you guys, and I really do see GTII potentially reversing fairly soon. I remember I did say 3 days and 14 hours to finish that last 3-day iteration. So upon that closure, we need to see how that affected volatility versus momentum, and then make a conscious decision. But yeah, I think I really do think 131, maybe sub 130, we could actually see a very, very strong area of support, and then we would continue on that higher high, higher low structure onwards and upwards, right, you guys? So I want to go ahead and just remind you to refer to the links in the description below if you would like to follow me on Twitter or join the ARCa Bulls trading community in Discord. Please remember to reserve your seat for the ARC Masters trading course as soon as you can, as there are only about 4 or 5 seats available in that. Okay, you guys, but with that said, I want to wish you well, a very good night, and a great rest of your weekend, and I will catch you at the bell on Monday. Adios.